Hello again, everyone, and thank you for joining me here at Saint Luminus. I was really inspired by a certain sound from Guthrie Govan on his latest rig rundown using his Axe Fx unit. There was kind of a stuttery guitar sound he had in there, and he talks about it, and I was inspired to try and create that effect over here, and I wanted to share it with you, how to create such an effect. If you haven't already, my friends, go ahead and subscribe to this channel, then tap that notification button so you can be notified the next time I put out a video. So let's talk about this. I'm going to put a link down below in the description with the rig rundown and the point at where Guthrie starts to talk about it. If you want, you can stop this video right now, click the link, and listen to that little stuttery effect. But Guthrie talks about it being a low-pass filter and using the a step sequencer to go ahead and open and close the filter. We're going to talk about it. It's going to be a lot easier to understand if you know a little bit about synthesizers and low-pass filters. If you don't really understand them that much, it's okay. I'll still show you how you can create the effect using a plugin, because I don't have an Axe Fx, so I can't do this in the Axe Fx. Instead, I'm going to do it in my DAW, which is Reaper, and I'm going to use a plugin from a company called Melda. So let's talk about the plugin to be used. We only need one plugin. That's the coolest part. Just need one plugin. So let's go ahead and look here at the screen, at my screen recording here. I'm getting the plugin from a company called Melda. It's part of their free effects bundle. You can see it's free, and although you can, and it's a whole bundle, there's like 30 plugins as part of this free effects bundle, and they're all killer. So you can go ahead and do it for free. The problem is that you can't save any presets in the free version, and you won't be able to do any modulation, which is necessary for this effect. You would have to pay the 49 bucks. The secret is, though, let me see if it's here. Let me scroll down to the, oh yeah, look at all these plugins you get. Yeah. Right here, you can see sign up to Melda Production newsletter and get 10 euros worth of credits, basically right now. So it should cost you about 39 bucks for this whole bundle. I'm not trying to sell you on the bundle, but I am trying to show you how a simple plugin from Melda can do this. Specifically, we'll take a look at it. We're going to use this M bandpass. All right, really quick, let me show you what I'm doing. Here's my guitar sound. I'm playing through my Mesa Boogie Mark 525. And it's going through here. You can see me, the Sir Reload IR. So I'm using one of the Sir IRs. And there's the sound. All right, there you go. I'm using a little bit of compression just to keep that sound ringing out. You can see here I'm using a tiny little bit of compression to go ahead and get that sound to sustain for a little bit longer, because it's really going to show off this effect. All right, let's look at the plugin. Okay, the Melda plugin. It's called the M bandpass. That's what they're calling it. Again, for about 39 bucks, 40 bucks. This is a killer bargain. I highly recommend it, especially if you're into creating cool stuff, as well as workhorse stuff. These are workhorse plugins too. But now we're going to go look at it. What we need is the low pass filter. Okay, I don't need this high pass filter. I already have it enabled. And what's happening in this effect that Guthrie is showing is that the filter is opening and closing. And that's a term that we use to talk about the filter, a low pass filter. If you don't know what a low pass filter is, just in short, it is a filter for your audio, so it filters some sound. And when it's called a low pass filter, it's going to filter off a high end. It's going to let that low end come in. So by looking here at the frequency, what I want is the filter, and there's something called a filter cutoff, and that's what this frequency says. It's the cutoff. The Q does something called resonance. And I'm not going to get into it too much, but I am going to modulate that. So what I'm doing is and what Guthrie is doing is he's opening the filter. I don't know exactly his settings, but this, what I'm about to show you, sounds pretty close to what he's doing. So I'm going to open up the filter starting around 500 hertz or so, and I'm going to open it up all the way till about here, somewhere around 7,000 or 7 kilohertz. So that's what I'm going to do. Here is what I'm going to call closed, or at least it gets rid of a lot of high ends. So anything, so from 500 hertz on lower, is what you're going to hear. And then as the filter opens up, you're going to hear more high frequencies. It's going to let some in, and then it's going to start to close again. So this is the modulation. So modulation, if you didn't know, it's kind of like an invisible hand going ahead and tweaking and turning the knob up and down, very predictably. So I'm deciding to use a 24 decibel per octave slope. Meld is kind of cool. You can go all the way to 120 decibels per octave slope. I'm going to use 24. You could certainly do a 12 or 6. I don't know what Guthrie's using. I don't know if it's a 12 decibel, 6, or 24, but 24 sounds good to me. Let's move on. Over here in Meld, now, there is not a visual of the low-pass filter in this bandpass. So unfortunately, you won't be able to see this filter actually moving, opening, and closing. But you are going to see these knobs move here in a second. So I've got two modulators, and I need both of them. And again, the modulator is sort of like an invisible hand going and tweaking the knobs on its own. So this is what we're going to do. All right, so to do this Guthrie Govan effect, what I need to do is, of course, modulate these two knobs. So I'm going to use this first modulator. I'm going to right-click it. It gives me two options, learn, clear, and learn. I'm going to hit clear and learn in case I already set things up. I can clear it all out and learn, start all over again. You can see the modulator is in record mode. It's waiting for me to actually move something or tap something. What I want to do is take this frequency, or the cutoff frequency, and move it from around 500 hertz. I'm going to move it up to, I'd say around there, around 6.5, 6.3 kilohertz. But I also want to move the Q, because that would be fun. So the resonance, I'm also going to move that up all the way to, say, around 3. Nothing too crazy. Now I'm going to tap this. So again, if you're not familiar with low-pass filters and cutoff frequency and resonance or the Q, I highly recommend you look this up. It's really not that complicated, and I don't want to turn this into a low-pass filter lesson. The point is, this is what Guthrie is doing for that cool little stuttery effect, and how you can do it too. So you could just follow this. You don't have to understand it completely. So now I have the modulator. As soon as I tap that, these knobs should move all by themselves. Let's see. There they are. So you can see that now they're moving by themselves. The modulator is doing exactly what it's doing, or the invisible hand is busy turning the knobs up and down. If I click this, you can see the actual modulator, which is just a sine wave moving these knobs up and down. But that's not what we want, because that's not what Guthrie did. He talks about a step sequencer in the Axe Fx. Fortunately, the Melda plugin has a step sequencer. The way to get there is this step button. So I've got to turn this up, all the way to 100%. So you can already see it's turned into these rectangles here, and that is typical of a step sequencer. And again, now if I have to edit it, so I'm going to edit here. Yeah, again, if you don't know what a step sequencer is, look this up when it comes to synthesizers. I think these things like low-pass filters, step sequencers, envelope filters, all this stuff are really important for us as guitar players who really want to explore really cool sounds. But let's look at this. Guthrie is talking about it being 16th notes. So what I'm going to do is set the number of steps to 16. So right here, you can see the steps. So what it's doing is it's the step sequencer is making those knobs move up and down really fast. There's really not an in-between value. So look, you can see it went from nice and smoothly looking like somebody's turning down. There's either the bottom or the top, but that's it. And it's moving according to the step sequencer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and adjust the step sequencer because this to me is going to be a boring sound, you know, either all the way up to all the way down. I want to get some things in between. So to do that, I got to do some quantization to help me draw it better. Don't worry about the quantization. It's only helping me to draw this a little better. I'm going to show you how I'm going to draw it. I'm just randomly going to make these a little bit shorter or longer. Maybe I'll keep this all the way. Yeah, something like that. I have no idea what the sound is going to be until I start playing through it, but it's whatever is going to be interesting. So right now, I'm totally just drawing these things to whatever may sound good. Like this might sound fun. I won't know until I actually play it. Okay, so I'm going to start with this. Yeah, so now what we got to do is hear it. I'm going to get my guitar. Let's hear this. One more. Yeah, already very fun. What I might do is something else here. I might, I'm going to adjust this a little bit. I'm going to put some more variety here. Now, it's also a little clicky to me. So what I'm going to do is smooth out the step sequencer. So as I move this a little bit, you're going to notice how those rectangles became a little curved. Okay, if I set the smoothing parameter to 0, it's a very sharp edge. If I do it like this, I should smooth out those edges a little bit. This is what's cool about the Melda plugin. You can sit here all day and play with this. I'm not even coming close to this crazy stuff you can do. I mean, how's that for a shape, right? It's less step sequence or more of that sine wave. Oh, let's just hear it. What the hell? Yeah, why not? It's not what Guthrie's doing, so we're not going to spend a lot of time with that. So here's our step sequencer. We're going to go with that. I'm going to slow it down to show you something because that's the first part. Getting the step sequencer here to modulate these knobs over here of the cutoff frequency and the Q. Notice something else too. Now that I've slowed it down, you see how it almost looks random what's going on here. It's not really random. It's a repeating pattern. Here's a repeating pattern. And there is this black line as it's going through the steps. There's first step, second, third, fourth, fifth, and so on. So where you see that black line, that is the step that is modulating, moving these here. So, but there is a problem because Guthrie says that this doesn't know when you do this, you want it to trigger at the beginning of the sequence. Otherwise, when you play, when it's going like this, you don't know what step is being played in what part. You might be in the middle of it. You might be on the edge. You want to start every time you play. You want this to start at the beginning so it doesn't sound funky every time you play. You have some amount of consistency. So what we need, and again, Guthrie talks about this, is we need an envelope. We need another modulator to modulate this black line, to make it jump back to the beginning every time we play. So we're going to use the second modulator. Let me move this over because we want to look at this black line here. All right, I'm going to enable it. Here is the second modulator. You notice it looks very similar to the first modulator, but it says modulator 2. Now what I need is the envelope. Again, this is a word that Guthrie used, and I understood what he was saying because I'm familiar with envelopes and envelope detectors and followers and all these other things. So the envelope is going to use something called an ADSR envelope, which stands for attack, decay, sustain, release. If you don't know what that means, again, look this up in synthesizers because ADSRs are super cool. Especially for guitar effects, you can get some really neat stuff with ADSRs. So I'm going to just go over this really quick. to tell you what I'm going to do. The envelope needs a trigger. So to get this ADSR to do something, I need a trigger. It's very simple in synthesizers because you can do it just by playing a key. Playing a key, it triggers the envelope to do something. In this case, I don't have a key. I need my guitar. So I'm going to use this right here. You see how it says audio? I'm not going to use MIDI like a keyboard. I'm going to use the audio. So whatever I play is going to be the trigger. So it says action on. So what it's saying is, what are you going to do? As soon as you play and it starts this envelope, what do you want it to do? I'm going to do something called start forced. This is very specific to Melda, but essentially I'm going to do whatever I can to force this to force my step sequencer to start from the beginning. As far as action off goes, I don't need it. I don't care what happens when the my audio goes to 0 and turns off. That's not necessary for this. The other thing I need to do is the detector. This is the audio detector. I want the detector to start right away. So as soon as I play, the transient will start to trigger this envelope. And this is kind of cool too, transient modulation. So this is going to be better at detecting the transient that I'm going to play. I'm going to open this up. There you go. And before I get to this, here's the ADSR. Again, it's okay if you don't understand it fully. What I want it to do, I want the ADSR. I want the attack to begin immediately. Everything after that, it's not necessary for what I'm doing here. Because again, all I'm trying to do is to get this step sequencer over here. You see how it's going through each of the steps. I want it to jump back to the beginning every time I play. I don't care where this black line is. I want it to immediately jump here whenever I play. All right. I don't care about the off button. The on button, I'm going to lower it. And I'm going to play guitar. So you're going to see my transient here at the bottom, approximately where my mouse is. You're going to see it. There it is. Let me play it again so you can see it. All right. You see, there's my transient. It's going to erase it because as it's going over, there's no sound. I'm going to lower it more to really make sure it gets that transient. Okay, perfect. Just did a scratch. So what's happened is you saw the transient jumps up and it's higher than the little on level here. That's good. That means it's ready to trigger, except I haven't told this whole thing here, this whole module, I haven't told it what to trigger, in which case I want it to trigger this step sequencer to start from the beginning. Again, this is specific to Melda, but I need a reset. In Melda, it's called a MIDI reset or retrigger. And again, this is a term that Guthrie used about a trigger retriggering the step sequencer. And so in Melda, I have to go to the modulators, and I have to go to modulator 1 because I'm looking for the parameter, that retriggering or that reset. And remember, the step sequencer, let me show you really quick. The step sequencer is modulator 1. All righty. Let me go back again. That's why I'm going to the modulators. I'm going to modulator 1 because I'm looking for this MIDI reset parameter. It's a little funky term. I had to go through the manual to figure out how to do this. So this took me a while to figure out. It's this MIDI reset parameter, which is a little weird name because I'm using audio to do the reset, not MIDI. All right, I've got this. So what should happen is as soon as I play, the step sequencer should jump back to the beginning. All right, I've got it all set up. Let me move this out of the way. I'm going to play. We're going to watch this black line and see if it jumps back. Ah, there we go. You see that? Aha. So you can look at two things. You can see my transient go above that on button. Once that happens, it's telling this little black line and the step sequencer, go ahead and start back from the beginning. So now let me play a note so you can hear this in action. All right. Oh, I made the first mistake. I made it too slow. I've got to bring the speed back up, and it won't matter. Again, you're going to see the jump back to the beginning. Yeah. Then I kind of hear it. 1 and a 2. So let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there you go. So that is how we've created this Guthrie Govan stuttery effect. It's not really a stutter with volume. It's a stutter with a low pass filter, and that's why it sounds so unique and cool. And the squeaky parts here, you hear a high end squeaky part. Nice sound effect. That's the cue. The higher the cue, the more you're going to hear that squeaky stuff when the filter is open a little more. And again, this is part of low pass filters. And with synthesizers, when you learn this stuff, you start to find out like, ooh, the power in making really cool, unique guitar sounds. All right, there you go. For some of you, this may be a lot, but I hope it is helpful for you in learning how Guthrie Govan got that cool little stuttery thing. Of course, I can go in here and tweak more to try and get it closer to sound just like Guthrie, but there's no point in there. If I am so inclined, I can go here and start playing with stuff. I can change the shapes. I can, you know, do stuff. I can do all sorts of weird stuff like that. Look at this. I mean, it's gonna sound wackadoo. I can play with this all day long, play with the steps, you know, play with this some more. There's just so much you can do over here. It's mind-blowing. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. I really appreciate it. Again, subscribe for more content like this. This was a long one. I usually don't make videos this long. But I thought this was important enough to do and share with you guys how to explore these things like Guthrie Govan does, especially when not all of us have an Axe Fx. I don't have one yet, but I think there's one in my future. And this is something you can do at home with a plugin. I mean, you're going to have to pay for it, but yeah, I think this is the best plugin for it. Thanks so much, you guys. Again, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and keep on playing. We'll see you real soon.